See, this is messy stuff. And I know that I'm not the only person who has dealt with it, and it doesn't have to be some dark past. Hi guys! So I recorded this video a few days ago, and I went back and watched it and edited it and was like, ooh, I didn't really talk about what body dysmorphia was and what it looked like in my body. So, I'm gonna have to revisit this. It's been a few days. This is like literally the only place that I get even semi-okay light. I literally live in a dungeon. There is no light in my house. That's better. Okay, so... Okay. So this is only going to be obviously my experience, and a lot of what my body dysmorphia looked like were obsessive habits and behaviors, which now in retrospect seem like they were meant to keep me in check with myself, so that I always knew what was going in, so that I could really have control. Obsessively looking at myself and comparing myself to other bodies, and especially in my industry, I make the majority of my income as a model, so it kind of came along with the territory. I kind of had to be keeping myself in check, because if I were, you know, gaining a bunch of weight and my measurements were expanding, then I wouldn't be booking as much work, and I wouldn't look as great in a swimsuit, or maybe I wouldn't get that ad campaign that was coming up, or, you know, get this, that, and the other job that I was trying to get. So just always wanting to be the thinnest girl in the room, the skinniest, I guess. This is like way before I had any kind of connection with like fitness. In my past relationships, I had always wanted to like, hey, let's exercise because I think that'll be healthier for me. And, you know, my previous boyfriend was like, no, I don't want you to get, you know, super like jacked muscularly. And I don't want you to start exercising. So you can kind of see how nasty, how I used to be in just such a different place, which is another beautiful reason that I really, really am feeling so called to sharing these stories, because it can give so much faith and inspiration and belief that people that are watching this right now who might not have an ideal, you know, relationship or healthy communication about things like this with their companion or their partner, but if it's something that they feel like they want inside of their own, you know, souls, maybe they'll, you know, want to act on it a little bit more. Maybe seeing someone like me who's saying like, oh my God, my story used to look so different, and look at me now. So you can see I'm kind of traipsing off subject here. But so a lot of what the body dysmorphia in its high stages, you know, first things first, wake up in the morning, how do I look? You know, kind of just obsessively checking myself in the mirror, you know, like blah, 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 this side, that side. And after snacks, after meals, after everything, after nights of binge drinking, yeah, it was a lot. And I would just be really, really obsessed with looking at myself and kind of always like chasing this super skinny figure. It just feels so good, not only liberating myself by making conscious choices on what it is that I do put in my body now, but like I said, that I can just eat so much more of whatever it is that I want, and I don't even have to worry about stuff like this anymore. And not even like veganism is a diversion away from unhealthy habits, but through this work that I'm doing, I'm developing such a sense of self-love, self-care, and self-adoration that I am not obsessed. I know that it just doesn't matter what I look like so much anymore. Like, a lot of us, especially with social media nowadays, can become so concerned with what our meat suit looks like. And what I mean by meat suit is that we have a body, a physical body that is made up of stuff and flesh, and all of us have that, but all of us also have this spirit and this personality that's inside of us that really doesn't have anything to do with, did you choose the way that you were born to look? I didn't. Which is why I think it's so funny that we put so much importance on people, what people look like. So many people, especially, you know, I make my majority of my income as a model, and to have so many people just giving these like insane praises and compliments and stuff about the way that I look, and it's so nice to look at them and say like, did you choose the way that you looked? Because this is purely, you know, I had nothing to do with the way that I look. My parents are both super cute, and for whatever reason, I came out looking like I did, and am now in the industry that I'm in, and, you know, I'm just so filled with gratitude for it. But I don't think of it as some huge accomplishment for me because, you know, we don't choose the way that we look. Yes, we have the choice of what we put in our body. I would guarantee like 9 people out of 10 would say that they wish that they had more energy throughout the day. What a lot of people don't realize is that the only way that our body has to fuel itself is by the things that we put inside of it, because what do we need every single day? Sleep, food, water. Those are like the keys to survival. So once we're giving ourselves those vital nutrients, we're able to step outside of that, and we don't have to just worry about surviving. So we're able to focus on other areas of our lives. Even among models at different jobs, I would like compare myself to other people out loud, and they would be like, what is wrong with you? Like, don't you see yourself? Like, you are so thin. And something that is huge with body dysmorphia is that you have a completely different depiction of what you look like than you actually look like, which is why it's so unhealthy, because I could look at myself in the mirror and just be like, oh my God, my hips are so big. You know, I would be standing in the mirror and just absolutely hating the way that my body looked because, you know, my anatomy is a certain way, and I thought that my hips were abnormally large. So just little things like that that really take a huge toll over time. And it was, you know, really brought to my attention by a few models that were like, I think you have body dysmorphia, because I would always be like, you're so much smaller than me, and they'd be like, what are you talking about? You're literally crazy. But it was like such an obsession for me that was not healthy, and it got to a really nasty place, and it really made me feel bad about myself, and it made me always feel like I wasn't good enough. So I really just wanted to kind of clarify that. Now let's go into the video. Namaste, guys. Thank you so much. I love you. Ha! Maybe that's not true. See, this is messy stuff. And I know that I'm not the only person who has dealt with it, and it doesn't have to be some dark past. Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel. If this is your very first time, welcome. My name is Britt, and I am gonna have a hard time with today's topic. My channel is about self-discovery, personal growth, constantly reaching and exploring little pathways of yourself and things that maybe you hold on to that are no longer serving you, that would be pretty beneficial to let go, bad habits. Basically what my channel is about is alignment, getting your mind, body, and soul connection, and creating awareness about that so that it becomes a really easy practice. I've said in other videos that I really feel like, well, not I feel like, I know that this movement is happening around us. So many people are getting interested in what transformation looks like and what a healthy lifestyle that's not like naggy and makes you feel like bad about yourself or guilty or ashamed about like not living a healthy life, but one of just so much joy and living with intention, good, positive intention, treating yourself well. I mean, don't these all sound like wonderful things? So these kinds of practices look different for everyone. No one has like some kind of prescription that they can give you, like, oh, you do this, this, and you'll be perfect. Because The beautiful thing about this kind of journey is that it's lifelong. And it's that it's not just like college that you can go and get a degree and like learn it and then you have it for the rest of your life. Does that make sense? It's ongoing work all the time. And that is what, for me at least, makes it the most fulfilling and the most liberating and the most inspirational, I guess. So I want to talk a little bit about a dark past. And a lot of the nasty, hard, kick in the stomach punches that beat me down and got me to where I am today. The light at the end of the tunnel, this is where I am now. But I come from a background of really, really severe anxiety that I was seeing a therapist for, and control issues, massive perfectionism that I've had my entire life that really triggered and stimulated the anxiety. And I've like never even really talked about this with anyone, but a really bad relationship with food. And what is the statistic? Something like, I want to say it's 1 in 3 experience a negative relationship with food, or some type of eating disorder or eating relationship, bad relationships with food. I guess I never was taken to a doctor and diagnosed with anorexia. I've never been bulimic or made myself purge. I tried to once, but I was like, oh my god, this is awful. And I guess it would be body dysmorphia more than anything else. Seeing yourself in a really, really different way than other people see you, and in a really, really unhealthy way, if that makes sense. I remember, let's see, when I was probably in like 8th grade or so, probably 7th grade, it was probably when it started. And a lot of it was actually triggered because of a lot of stuff that was going on in my family. So here's the thing. See, this is the interesting part about this kind of work, because it's not ever simple. It's not just one story that's like very streamlined and simple. It's not easy. There are ways that you behave because of other things that have happened in your life, and they impacted you in a certain way that caused you to do certain things. So I guess I could start at the baseline of what I can think of. My dad always worked owning landscaping companies, and he wasn't around as much. And I took it in a really great way that I was like, wow, I'm so lucky to have a dad that it's so important to him to provide for our family. And I didn't really have like these daddy issues in terms of like really, really constantly needing attention. Maybe that's not true. See, this is messy stuff. And I know that I'm not the only person who has dealt with it, and it doesn't have to be some dark past, because it's really therapeutic to let things out, because whenever we don't let negative things out and we stash them inside of ourselves, it becomes dis-ease and some type of restlessness inside of us that manifests itself in different ways. Whether that's a nasty relationship with food throughout your life, which you could pass on to your kids, and you know, that's kind of something that fed into mine and my sister's bad relationships with food. My sister actually went to a clinic for a while for anorexia and bulimia, both. And I think I used to see the attention that she was getting from my parents, albeit it wasn't great attention, it was concern, but I saw that, and I think I wanted a better or a more attentive relationships with my parents, my dad especially, and maybe that's a big reason why I started restricting myself and not eating as much, maybe to garner attention. I remember there was a time in 8th grade when I think I was like 82 pounds was like pretty much my norm. I was about 5'6" at the time, and my dad would tell me often that he would give me $100 if I could get to 100 pounds. It was unhealthy. And it only kind of got worse because once I started getting teased, I would get teased because I was so skinny, and I don't know, something about it just felt kind of good. I guess it was the attention. And what a hard thing, because so many people, I feel like this is such a vulnerable thing, such a private and intimate thing to talk about, that so many feel shame from, and there's just nothing ever positive that's going to come out of feeling really ashamed about your past or things that you've gone through. I think that this is almost like talking about things that are uncomfortable is almost like an exorcism of like nastiness that's inside of you. Guilt doesn't feel good, and it's totally self-inflicted. Shame doesn't feel good. Even if you did something that was wrong to another person, holding on to it's not going to do anything. You can make peace with it and say, okay, I'm never going to make that mistake again, and also, how can I make that better? How can I make it right? Or, you know, finding your own therapeutic way of dealing with it. Whatever it looks like in your life. Everyone's got their issues. I guess that's exactly what I'm trying to share here. I used to have issues eating in front of other people. I had a boyfriend in 7th and 8th grade and into 9th grade that I never used to eat in front of him. And our families went on a vacation to Mexico one time, and my parents knew that I didn't eat in front of him, so I was like segregated, and I wasn't allowed to come out of that room until I had finished eating my pizza or whatever it was. And after high school, throughout high school and into my junior year, I started modeling. My sister was a model, and that's actually why her sickness was able to get to the point that it did, because in order to keep her measurements down in the modeling industry, you have like kind of a criteria of measurements that most models should have. And in order to keep those measurements, she would have to restrict herself and count calories and deprive herself of food and, you know, purge and not eat. And I actually have a very different body type. She's like 6 foot tall, I'm 5'9", and I have a way more lean build in the first place. But it's interesting because at the time I never really saw how harmful it was to me. It just was like an end game. I knew I had to be a certain size, so I kept myself at that size. And I knew I liked to drink, so I'd pretty much just not eat all day and then drink a lot. I used to be such a mess. That's another thing. I feel like a lot of people experience that at a young age. They're just kind of really uncomfortable in their own skin, and maybe you're there now and you just kind of want to fill the void. A lot of us have social anxieties, and when we get around other people it's kind of uncomfortable because we don't know what to talk about, so we just like drink a lot so that it's easier. What is Abraham Hicks says, it's juice. What kind of juice? No jitters juice or something? Something about how it just, it takes away what it is that you don't want to stress about and makes it so you just don't think about it. It's like no problem juice. When really it doesn't take away the problems, but it just inebriates you so that you don't have to think about the problems, which is exactly the kind of lifestyle that I have come into, is on the opposite end of that spectrum. So I make conscious choices about what I eat, which is why I became vegan at the beginning of the year after being a vegetarian for a year and a half. And that's why I don't really drink anymore. I haven't completely cut alcohol out of my life, but I really, really enjoy a glass of wine or a beer or two on date nights with my fiance. So going through high school, whenever I started to model, my sister decided that she didn't want to be a model anymore and it was making her too sick. So my sister's agent called her one day and was like, hey, do you want to do this job? And she was like, no, I'm done. Like, take me off your roster. I don't want to model anymore. And I literally ran into my parents' bedroom, picked up the phone, called Star 69, who remembers Star 69, and I called her agent back and I was like, hey, you know Charity, I know she doesn't want to model anymore, but this is her little sister Brittany and I want to do the job. And I booked it. I booked the job, and that was the first one that I was able to like take 5 days off school and, you know, start making money modeling. And then that was kind of a whole different reason to keep doing the same thing that I was doing, but it made more sense to me because I was like, oh, well, now I'm making money off it, so it's like, okay, right? And I would just not eat during the days, and I would just drink at night while I was in a relationship that was super unhealthy for 4.5 years with a guy that never told me once first that he loved me, and who I found out at the end of the relationship, I found out that for the first 1.5 years he was actually cheating on me with his ex, which I guess he was cheating on her with me too for that first 1.5 years. So it was just a really silly, a silly gap of my life that I kept myself inebriated and unhealthy and sick, so that I didn't have to look at my life and exactly what it looked like. And I could just escape. So from there, I started traveling internationally. I was a nanny in Australia, in Launceston for a while, which is on Tasmania, the island south of Australia. I didn't have to keep myself sick for that. I was actually eating a lot down there because I was cooking so much for the family. But I took a lot of modeling contracts, like in Shanghai. I've probably spent 1.5 years or so in China. And I've probably spent 8 months or so in Thailand modeling. And yeah, I used to love using, you know, modeling and international trips as a way to actually, when I started traveling overseas, that's when I started to first get a little bit of a taste of what eating healthfully was, because so much of the food in China would freak me out, and I didn't want to eat at restaurants, and I didn't want to not know what they were giving me. They had just like bags of monosodium glutamate, MSG, that they would just like, you would see them like pouring into the dishes. So I was just like, oh my god, no. So I started making like stir fries for myself at home and stuff. That was like my first start of getting healthy in the kitchen. And it was really fun because now I'm living such a healthy life, and I seriously am so inspired to get into my kitchen, and I love finding new things that supplement this vegan lifestyle, that I am not missing out on a lot of protein or vitamins or things like that. It's definitely been a learning process, but I've been listening to my body and kind of trying to learn more about it. And yeah, it's just really, really liberating to be making conscious choices to where you're saying, okay, well, yeah, I want to support this lifestyle. I know that I don't want to be eating or putting energy into my body of flesh of nasty, tortured animals that live in, you know, scary conditions, and, you know, and just eating the flesh of super sad animals. For me, energetically, it doesn't seem right, and it doesn't make me comfortable. So that's a big reason why I do it. Also because the animal agriculture industry is like cutting down rainforests in order to... I'll put a link of a lot of the documentaries, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen them already anyways, but in case you haven't, I'll put a lot of the links to the animal agriculture documentaries and other docs that I've seen that are really, really informational and educational. and helped me make this transition a lot easier. Because once you know, once you receive information about things, it becomes so much easier. And once you start to discover what you believe in, it becomes easier to treat yourself right. And to say, oh, I'm not feeding myself and I'm drinking a little bit too much. Why am I doing that? Oh, it's to escape problems and to not look at my life and the decisions that I'm making. I should look at that. At least that's how it has been for me. I feel like before I really get into this channel and really start showing who I am now, it's really, really important for me to share where I have come from, because anxiety, identity crisis, body dysmorphia, binge drinking, these are all things that are kind of commonplace now. People body shame other women, women body shame other women. On one spectrum or the other, one end or the other. It's not loving and it's not kind. People drink themselves into stupors because they don't want to look at their lives, or because that's the only way that they feel connection with the people that they surround themselves by. I've said this a few times in my videos already, but I'm going to say it again. This kind of stuff is not easy to look at. It's not that fun. I'm crazy because I think it's the most fun thing in the world to look at myself. Self-study, self-reflection is also one of the integral, huge parts of yoga, because in order to know yourself, you have to look at who you are, what you believe in, what's happened to you, where you've gotten led to, decisions you've made. I don't feel like this kind of conversation is going to fall on deaf ears, because when I have gone out into my community and people see my Instagram and they know the microblogging that I've been doing, or they follow my blog and, you know, see how open I am with a lot of the things that I've come out of, or the things that I'm going through. You know, people open up and it's a good thing. And this is the direction that we're headed in. Age of Aquarius, we're on the rise. This is written in the stars that now is the time that people are starting to discover a bit more of themselves and become liberated in their beliefs, and really start to express how they want to have their voices heard. This isn't just like some movement that's gonna fade away. The longer that we like resist it and don't look at it and don't consider it to be real, resistance only creates sorrow. This is so funny. I wonder if anybody is going to be interested in looking at things like this the way that I am. I believe that there are people out there that are the conscious creatives that are out there in the world, that are doing this work, that are looking at their lives. These are the people that I'm reaching out to. Or the skeptic people that think that a life lived in abundance is not attainable if you're not, like, born that way. Of course, my camera turned off. A lot of times on my Instagram, I will do an Instagram story that is just kind of what I'm thinking on today. And that's what this video kind of is today. When I was going to sleep a few nights ago, I was like, wow, am I ever going to talk about my issues with food? That's the first trigger answer that's like, yes, you have to. It's uncomfortable, you have to. But the whole reason that I'm doing this is to show that you just don't have to stay burdened by adversities that you've been through, things that you've experienced. All of us have types of trauma. All of us have things that we've had to go through that have been really, 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 really hard. Maybe my hardship is not as, you know, hard as yours has been, but each person's worst hardship is the worst hardship that they've ever experienced, so why can't that count? There doesn't have to be this hierarchy of whose hardship is the worst and who should feel, you know, the worst about things, because all of us have shit that we've had to go through that have made us a stronger person, right? We can either allow it to drag us under and take us over, which is what I allowed my body dysmorphia and my drinking and my anxiety, compulsiveness over stressing about things. And oh my god, one day I'm going to share my perfectionistic story, my perfectionism meltdown with you guys, the moment of my true paradigm shift, which was during my final exam of my 200-hour yoga teacher training. During my final exam, in front of 55 people and my teacher assistants and my teacher. A meltdown. Vulnerability meltdown. This is fun. You're not alone. You're not alone. All of us have stuff to work through. The easier that it becomes to sit here and talk about things, the more quickly we'll be able to join hands and, you know, move towards love and making other people happy and bringing other people out of the shadows. Love you guys so much. Thank you so much for sharing this story, this moment with me. Until next time, namaste. Somebody is so tired. This is my high school graduation present, Zorro. I actually wanted a laptop, but I got a silky terrier instead. He just turned 10 last week. I got him when he was 4 months old. Huh, Zorro? We've been through a lot of stuff. He's like, let's go inside. He just got done sunbathing. Thank you guys. Bye.